Hello everyone, this is Gingercraft. I'd like to show you my compact design for an 8 village stacked raid farm. So here it is. Compact design, you can see it has 4 kill chambers for maximum bad omen generation. And up here is the kill chamber and all of the villages. You can see you switch this on, turn on the kill chambers, waiting for bad omen. Check which bell was rung, so that's where the active raid is. Move to the next bell, wait for the next bad omen. There it is. So you'll have 2 raids going at the same time. You can see they're all generating in this very compact kill chamber. Come back down here, you can see all the items get collected underneath through these hopper minecart system and sorted, and you can access all the experience. All the emeralds get sorted out into these chests, and you can sort out any sortable, stackable item. All the non-stackable items get filtered out at the end in a delayed fashion, so you can pick them up if you're looking for a totem of undying or saddle or something. All the unwanted items get dumped automatically into this lava pit. You can AFK on this farm by riding in an empty minecart. You do have to be mindful of which side you get out on, because one side is filled with angry mobs. I'd like to give credit where credit is due. A lot of this design is taken directly from silentwisperer / pekoneko's 24 village stacked raid farm design. I'd like to also give a shout out to Old Guy. He has great raid farm videos and has taught me basically everything I know about villager mechanics. Anyway, if you're interested in building this, hang tight for the tutorial. First thing you're going to need is a raid tower with 4 spawning spots. Also, generally for raid farms, you're going to want this away from mountains, but for this compact design, it's less important. First thing you want to do is tear down the tower right to the top platform, like so. Once you've done that, just add 2 rows of blocks all around the top layer of the platform. So once you've done that, tear down everything underneath the platform, right to the sand. So there it is. But do destroy that last layer and all the sand on that layer underneath the platform. So to identify the spawning spots, you just wait at least 24 blocks away, see where they spawn, build a little prison of glass panes at least 2 blocks high. You can go at least 24 blocks away and see if they'll spawn that spot again. So clearly we have 2 spawning spots here. So build another prison of panes 2 blocks high. You're going to want to fill these blocks in completely as well. And get rid of that fellow. Then we wait again. See if I can identify a spawn. And there he is. And now we have to determine on which block he actually spawned. So you have to find your directions. So there's the sun setting in the west. So I'm facing south. So this is north, that's west to the left. And so he's on the northwest corner of this block here. So I'm just going to grab a marker block, mark that, get rid of him. Now I can get rid of these glass panes and build this block up by 5, which will make it non-spawnable. Then I go back at least 24 blocks, have a look around, wait for a spawn, there he is again. Find the northwest corner, there he is, and do the same. Make sure you get these blocks up 5, otherwise they'll continue to spawn. Then we back up again, we found another spawning spot here, so we'll build our glass pane prison. block, kill him again, back up. Oh, there it is. So that's how you confirm 4 spawn spots. And just make sure these guys are dead so they spawn again. So there he is, spawned in, northwest corner again. Oh, there we are. Kill him, get rid of these panes. And these spawning spots actually always form in a rectangle. They might actually be a square, so you might only have to know where 2 of these are to figure out where the other one is. Now we just want to double check that they will spawn at 4. So add 4 blocks to each one of these, destroy the 5th block. You should be able to see them spawn now on the top of one of these. There he is. Now to build these kill chambers, so again you want to build this on the west and north of each one of these pillars, 1 block down from the top block, which is still 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this just gets your orientation set for all 4 of your kill chambers. You want to build a ring all the way around here. So now you have a 4x4. Put a sand down here with a cactus, and then a ring of blocks around the cactus. Put some blocks up here, make that too high. Leave 1 block in front of the cactus, and these blocks on the sides like so, and put stairs here and here. Oak button goes there, waterlog the stairs, and then add a glass block 2 blocks above the spawning space, and that'll push them into the water stream automatically. Add another ring of blocks above here. And then you can fill this whole thing in with glass. And add another ring of solid blocks. Place another block above the button, and then a piston, and then your trident. And this is 1 trident killer done. So you just have to repeat this 4 times. And here's what it looks like when you're done. Now you want to go in between the trident killers and hook up a line of blocks like so. Line of blocks right in the center, close to the center as you can get, and hook up another line of blocks like this. 4 more blocks in front of this here, and then a line of redstone from block underneath the piston to another block. Get rid of those redstones, not necessary, and then another line at the back to hook up those pistons. And then a comparator, a repeater, redstone, redstone, and put this comparator on subtract mode. And that's it for the circuitry for now. You can test this by placing a source of power. Redstone block works fine. You can see all the pistons start firing. Now you want to go in the center, as close to the center as you get. The center is actually 4 blocks, but one of the center blocks, and then build up 30 blocks. Up to 30. Replace the 30th block with leaves, and then build a small platform with leaves. Should be about 18 blocks long and 4 blocks wide. But it doesn't matter a whole lot at this point. We can modify it later. So that's that, and then flip over to the other side. Add a row of blocks here, and then every other block you're going to want to do a marker block. That is 2 marker blocks, so I've chosen redstone blocks. So every other, and this is going to mark where all the beds will get placed eventually. You actually need one more over here, so there it is. Oh, there it is, finally. And some more leaves to extend the platform. Let's do one more because you're going to need space around the beds. Okay, it should look like that. And then go around, fill the rest in with solid blocks. And then a line at the back to finish it off. Okay, and that's good for now. Now we go to the far right side, or left side, doesn't really matter. You can mirror image this whole thing if you'd like. Then you go out 200 blocks. So 388 to 588 at least. You can do more than 200 blocks, but you want to make sure that this is adequate, because this is where we build our differing villages, and they have to be far enough away to not recognize each other. So then you want to go 100 blocks away, approximately right in the middle of this platform, so around 488, and build this out by 2 on each side. 4 wide is plenty. And this is where all the new villages will get formed. And we go right to the end of the platform and build a 10 by 10. This will be our breeding pod, so do that. And there it is. Then you add a V to the side. This will be how we get the villagers out. And a wall around the whole thing. 1 block high, then 2 blocks high. Then we have to fill the whole thing up with beds. If this is survival mode, you're going to have to breed these guys up here and get 2 villagers up here to start the breeding. And you can do that any way you want. Next, you want to light this whole thing up because you don't want zombies up here spawning and killing your whole batch of villagers. You can get villagers up here any way you want. I'm going to cheat and use villager eggs. In survival mode, you just feed them whatever you want. Potatoes, carrots, bread, and then just wait for them to breed. You're going to breed 49 villagers or so, because some of them might fall off in the process, so you want plenty of them, because eventually we're going to destroy all these beds, and you won't be able to breed it anymore unless you place down all the beds again. So I'm going to skip the breeding phase and just place a bunch of villagers. You do want to get rid of all of your nitwits and children. They're not going to be particularly useful, so kill all them. And then you'll have 49 villagers, all asleep at once, and all adults. Then we have to go in and destroy all the beds. So this basically makes all the villagers orphans. So we have villagers, but there's no actual village here. The village is made by the first bed that's claimed. So we got 49 villages and 49 villagers and no village. This part is kind of tedious because they always get in your way, but if you hit them with an empty fist, it doesn't do a lot of damage. So now you want to come up here and place power rail all the way to the middle section, so about 100 power rail or so. You don't really have to use all powered rail. You could alternate with 1 power rail and 8 normal rail if you want, if you don't have a gold farm yet. But you want to make sure that all the power rails are powered, and it's easier if they're all connected. So walk along and power them all with whatever you want, redstone torch or switch. So it looks like they're all powered. We actually want to replace this first rail with a non-powered rail and send these guys along. So this is how they just teleport into the mine carts and get rid of the empty mine carts. I've already got one guy up here. Once it gets to the end of the road, you can place down some beds. They should claim these beds. You can break the mine carts. These rails, actually, it's best if the last 2 rails are not powered. So you can do that any way you want. If you separate them with a normal rail or just move the power source, then you can make them unpowered. And then, I haven't seen the green particles, but if they get into the beds, oh, it's daytime. Let's cheat a little bit and make it nighttime. Here we go. Okay. So these guys belong to this village right here, and you can see that they both link to the spell. There's the village leader, not that that matters a whole lot. Now you can just place beds alternating 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is how we place our first village. First village doesn't really have to be placed this meticulously like this, because there's no other villages to really interfere with. But this will give you a taste of how to actually stack the villages. This row of blocks we don't actually need. We want to change this into leaves. This is where the villagers will be imprisoned for the long term. So build another leaf underneath, just in front of the marker blocks that show where the beds are going to be placed. If you're smarter, you just do a line underneath this whole thing rather than placing it like this, but this is the way I did it. So that's that, and then you want to fill these whole rows in, so there's little spots for the villagers to sit in. So like that, and just do that all the way across. So like that, and then you actually want to light this whole thing up in case you get zombies and witches and whatever killing your villagers, and especially up here once you have stacked villages, you don't want them getting killed. Once you're ready to go, you can start breaking beds. So you want to break one bed at a time, wait for them to match with a new bed, and then you can start breaking beds as well. As long as the most distant bed has had particles, you can break the beds before it. So you can see this guy's linked to a bed, that guy has not yet. He's waiting there, he's linked, so you can break this bed, break that bed. He's linking to the next bed, and do this all the way to the end. So once you get closer to the end, this is basically the orientation of the last bed that you want to place. So you can break the second last bed and see if he matches. I think that's probably too far. Let's place another one. Yeah, okay. So when we break this one, he should match in that last bed. Oh, there he goes. Okay, and you just want to double check they're both still gonna link to the bell, and they do, so that's great. So now we have to build up this the back leaf prison a little bit more. So we want 2 more blocks on each, except for the ones right in front of the beds or the marker blocks. So we'll get that done, and they shouldn't be able to escape once you get them in. So you just want to click them, get them out of the bed, and then place a block there. You don't want them to lose sight of their bed. That can sometimes make them unlink, get frustrated. Then you can kill the other guy, however you want to do that. We're quite high, so he'll die from fall damage. And then cover up the top there, and that villager should be safe. Now we want to repeat this process 7 more times. So first one's the easiest for sure. The second one, you can start to see how the villages start to interfere with each other, and it gets a little bit more tricky. So we'll get 2 more villagers. And you can get out of here. You can place a ladder on the second block to get in here easier on survival mode. That'll prevent zombies from climbing in too. So he didn't get in that, so we'll place another one. There's probably an empty minecart here that we should get rid of. There we go, so he doesn't bounce back. So he'll get to the end of this, he'll start matching with the beds. It's great, they both stop, they don't bounce back because of those dead rails at the end. So they've linked, place a bell. They both link to that, that's great. Break it, see the leader, place our beds, walking all the way to the end. And our last bed's going to have an orientation like so. And then we can start breaking beds and walking these guys into the other village. So this is the process of village stacking, and this is kind of the most tedious part of the whole process, because villagers sometimes do some unexpected things for unclear reasons. But they're generally pretty good at linking to beds like this. It's only when they get lined up like this, sometimes you worry about them pushing each other off. And that was a close call, but he seems fine now, and he'll link to the next bed. But if you have them left and right of each other, they generally won't. Sometimes they skip a bed, and that kind of throws things off. So just keep walking them one after the other. So he linked, can destroy this bed, he linked. And he skipped a bed there. I can destroy that bed, get rid of this bed because I don't really want him to sleep here. Okay, skipped another bed. They do tend to skip in line sometimes. And the closer that you get to the other village, you're going to start to notice some interference from the previous village. It'll get harder and harder to place beds. So you have to place them closer together. It's almost like if the bed is in between the two villages, it doesn't know which village it's supposed to belong to. And even though there's a villager without a bed, he won't be able to link to it. So you can see here, this bed is very close, and he won't link to it. Oh, it's daytime, so I'm going to cheat again and make it nighttime. And there we go. So he won't match there, so if you step over one, then he might match here. There's some general trends that this follows, like the closer you get to the other village, the closer the beds have to be together to get them to link. But sometimes they do some unexpected things, and just placing it in a different orientation or a different line, or sometimes even further away, they will link. Sometimes replacing the same bed that's already been placed will work. This guy doesn't seem to want to match here. You place a bed here. He likes that. He matched there. That's good. Oh, these guys might be getting in our way. So let's get rid of these llamas. Good. And still not matching. So we just replaced the bed again, and he matched this time. So there he goes. So we can do that, get rid of this torch, and we want to place the bell. Ideally before we kill the superfluous villager. And these guys aren't sleeping for some reason. And there we go. So push him into the hole, put the leaf block up on the second level again, cover the top, make sure he doesn't lose sight of the bed. And that's 2 villages stacked. And you can just kill this guy again. So now we just have to do this 6 more times. So go ahead and do that. So this is the last village to be stacked. And he matched there, so we can get rid of this bed behind. We're moving up by basically 1 to 2 blocks at a time now. There we go. Let's see if he can go in the last position. So even if he's right next to it, sometimes that's not enough. Oh, that was close. The heads of those beds are directly right next to each other. Still not matching. So we'll try replacing the bed in the same location, and that was enough. Good. So you want this lit up. Place the bell again. They both still link to it. Kill the extra villager. Probably best to get this guy placed before doing that, just for safety's sake. And lock him in, and that's it. That's 8 villages stacked. So you want to replace these probably with glowstone. And then basically fill this whole thing in with leaves. So 2 on the back of each one of these. And then 3 across the top on every level. And then you can get rid of this platform basically all the way to the middle platform. So 100 blocks away you need to clear. And there it is. So now to build the killing chamber, You need a line of blocks across the top here, right above the glowstone. And leaves 2 blocks above it. A line of leaves. That. And you want to come to the back side and place slabs. Basically, these should be right over top of where the beds are. And that's where the raids will spawn. And you'll go back with solid blocks for 5 more rows. So you have 1 row of leaves, 2 rows of slabs, 5 rows of blocks. And then you'll build a barrier at the back and the sides. This to keep the water in. And that's good. They want signs all across the front, so just do that. You can use open fence gates too. I know Silent Whisperer used open fence gates in his video to achieve the same thing. And then place your water. Just make sure it goes right to the end without spilling over. Oh, missed a block there. And then you want to build up a roof over top of the back part of this. Over top of basically every solid block. It should only be 1 block high, just to allow the water to flow free. If it's 2 block high, that'll allow raids to spawn in there. So make sure it's only 1 block in there. And you add 2 blocks to the front and come all the way across. Build up the walls. And then you'll do another row underneath in front of the leaves, but above it too. Bring these blocks on the sides at the front out 1. This is where the tripwire hook is going to go. And then build a whole line of blocks on top of that. And then you want to build all the walls around the half slabs up. This is going to be basically the spawning chamber of the kill chamber. It needs to end up being 5 blocks above the half slabs, so very tall. Otherwise the ravagers will glitch through and destroy your leaves and they'll be spawning everywhere. Put your tripwire hooks in your recesses and then a line of string right across the front. You can get rid of any extra string and just test it, just make sure that it pulls the string. Add a line of blocks across the front ridge here. This is where your pistons are going to go. So pistons facing forward and then 2 blocks on each side. Throw your tridents in the middle approximately of every block. You don't want 2 tridents too far apart or it will allow a raider to possibly survive. Eventually they generally will get pushed into a trident by another raider though. So add 6 blocks in front of this block, so the tripwire hook is on the other side of that block. Run a line of blocks across approximately to the center. You have to find the center of the pistons. So you can either count it out like so, or just look at the bells. The glowstone in between 4 bells on each side should be the exact center. You place a block on top of the piston, and then behind the piston, and then carry this line of blocks right behind like this. And then we can start on the circuitry. So redstone, only 1 redstone, and then a comparator. A repeater facing backwards, redstone, 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 redstone. We don't need that block. Make sure that comparator is on subtract mode. Run the redstone line all the way up, and then on top of the pistons. And that's basically the circuitry. You add a repeater here just to make sure it'll go all the way to the ends. Now we can test it. So if I throw a raider in here. Yep. It seems to be working.
Great. Now we can head to the front and add another row of blocks to cover all these pistons. That, and then basically we have to cover the whole thing now in leaves to make sure there's no raiders spawning on the top of this whole killing platform. So the whole thing. Make sure you don't miss any blocks, otherwise you'll get spawns in the wrong place, which usually isn't a huge issue, but if you get a Ravager that spawns in the wrong spot, then they can destroy more leaves and encourage more pillagers to spawn. And that's more or less it. That's the kill chamber. So now we want to hook this all up. So you want a row of blocks right here in front of the redstone dust all the way up. And this just guides the placements of your sticky pistons and redstone blocks. And basically you just want a piece of redstone above the comparator and sticky pistons above that. No, there. And then you can put redstone every 3 blocks. Alternatively, you could take sticky pistons every 3 blocks. That also would be fine. And just go back and put the redstone or sticky piston, whichever one you didn't do. So this whole thing will extend and signal the block underneath it when the switch at the top is flipped. In survival mode, you'd basically be using scaffolding to do this. And make sure it's all facing down. There it is. And you can destroy this line of blocks after. And that's that. So come back up here, place a lever on your sticky piston, the top sticky piston, and once that extended, it should trigger your trident killers at the bottom. Make sure there's a leaf block on top of that, otherwise you'll be dealing with a bunch of illagers up there. And it looks like it's working. So this is basically all that you need. This is, in effect, a raid farm now, and you can just walk in front of each bell one at a time until you get bad omen, and when that bell rings, that means there's a raid going on in that village. So you can get 8 villages going all at the same time, but right now we don't have a way to sort all the loot. So if we want to do that, let's carry on. So to build the sorting system, extend this block all the way along the end. So you want 5 blocks and then 1 temporary block in. You can start your line of pistons or hoppers here. Extend this line of temporary blocks all the way across. This all depends on how many sorters you want. I feel like the whole line is probably overkill. You definitely need at least 4 or 5 in a row to catch all the emeralds, and that's most of the purpose of the farm. If you want some of the redstone dust and glowstone or gunpowder, then you can add a few more. I'm just doing this all. Add power rail to the front and to the sides. You're going to need normal rail on the corners. Put power rail all across all of the hoppers. Okay, and then normal rail in the corners. And that's the rail line. This all needs to be powered, so switches are best for this because they're not spawnable. The unpowered rails in the corner you'll have to replace with normal rail or power them. So actually, this is where I like to have my disposal system. So I'm going to get rid of this, put some temporary blocks up here, get some pistons pointing into those, and we'll leave that as that for now. We'll do a line of temporary blocks, 2 underneath the hoppers, and then hoppers pointing down all the way across, or at least as many sorters as you want. You can get rid of that temporary line of temporary blocks. You want a solid block behind the lower hopper and one behind the upper hopper, like thus, and then run these back all the way. Underneath it, you add a temporary block and then a target block and a block of glass across from that, and then solid blocks underneath in this pattern. And then you just want to carry this all the way back with all of these. The glass you don't actually want to do yet. Put redstone down first. And on the lower blocks, on the back blocks, don't put them on the target blocks. And then you put a layer of glass now and add redstone on top of your layer of glass. That's good. And then we need our comparators, all pointing into the blocks. They shouldn't be on subtract mode. That's that. And the only thing we're missing now is our redstone torches. So put those on the back of all the target blocks. Make sure they're on the target blocks and not below. That's that. And then chests in front of those all the way across. And then to build the disposal system, 2 blocks underneath the hoppers and 2 beside them. Bring this out in a ring with holes in between. Then you want to go underneath and place droppers. So the hoppers will go into the droppers. And the droppers will fire straight down. Then you want to bring some blocks out like this. And 2 behind the droppers. And then 2 more on this side. 2 comparators, the second on subtract mode. And then a repeater into that block. 3 redstone and then 4 redstone on top of the droppers and these blocks here. And that should work. So if you fill this up with a bunch of garbage, it should rapidly fire and throw a lot of it on the ground. Now if you want this not causing a bunch of lag, best to go down here, open this up, put some lava there, get rid of all the blocks you don't want or objects you don't want. Just put 1 or 2 buckets of lava in here. It should be enough to get rid of everything you don't want, because there's going to be a lot of it. So the last thing for this sorter system, you want to fill the last 4 slots with blocks that shouldn't come through the system. So smooth stone's not likely to come through the system. And the first block is the block or the item that you want to sort out. So generally your first ones are all going to be emeralds. So you want to make sure the first slot is emeralds and the 2nd through 5th slots are blocks that it won't see in any way. So do as many of these as you have. You want to make sure they're filled so they don't just fill up with a bunch of random stuff. I regret building so many now. So yeah, just make sure the first slot is what you want to filter out. So 1 emerald's enough. It'll put more emeralds in there. But it'll always filter down to 41. So So any excess emeralds will always get filtered down into the chests. Okay, and that's enough of that for now. And then you have to cover this whole thing in leaves now. And make sure you don't leave anything not covered in leaves, or you'll have to fight some raids for real. And nobody wants to do that. Okay, these actually need to be powered. So you can use whatever you want to power that. Redstone's fine. Just make sure you're not powering these hoppers. That will interfere with your sorting system. And then any new blocks that you place, you have to make sure that you cover in leaves. So should be all powered. Oh. That one, and there's one in the corner. So we'll just replace these with regular. And then cover everything in leaves. And that is more or less it. So you can place your hopper minecarts here underneath the line of leaves, and they'll collect all your loot, and it'll get sorted out, and the garbage will get thrown into lava. And you can get up to 8 raids going all at the same time, so that will create a lot of loot. You're going to hear a lot of clicking and raid horns and grunting from pillagers getting killed. So if you like this video, please leave a like. I'd like to thank my fellow crafters, Carib Pirate and Dapper Measy, for all of their inspiration over the years. We'll see you next time.